What do you think will happen to the EFF? Do you think it can survive?
I don't think the EFF will survive even if it's not sentenced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's childish to play with guns, whether it's real or toy guns. If it's a toy gun, it's even worse.
Yeah.
When I then took that decision, he says that no, I actually want to announce you as the president of Mkhonto Isizwe.
Oh wow.
Like we're in here in an hotel, and I refused. And then I said never. The criminal cartel starts to demarcate spheres of crime in South Africa, where they say for drugs, this group is responsible for the Western Cape. I know that there's law enforcement issues that Prophet Bushiri is confronted with in South Africa. Law enforcement agencies must deal with that. I'm not a law enforcement agency.
You can tell a lot about what a man is by the woman they marry.
Yeah, for example, some people will.
I think those are subjective views. Those are subjective views that you will.
So Penduka, our guest today is a man who wears many faces. A man of many faces. Remember from Game of Thrones?
Yeah, and of many colors.
Yeah. One day you could have an ANC face, an EFF face, MK face.
Yes.
Next week it might be the Secretary General of the DA. You never know. Never. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the co-founder of the EFF, former Secretary General of the MK Party, and the current president of Africa Maibuye, Floyd SHIVAMBU. I was telling a crazy story. When I was a meter taxi driver, I used to drive your wife, Lona Maseko. She was one of my clients.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean you don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't have a wife.
What is she to you? Is she not your wife?
I know Lona Maseko. She's a celebrated chef, and she runs her own things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know her?
Like I know of her, and I know that she's a private chef. And
bro, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
So that is So if there was or there is any relationship between me and her, it's private, and I don't talk about private issues in public.
Now I get your question. I didn't know that.
Because in the news,
I don't.
in the news it says she's your baby mama and stuff like that. So I just assume she's your wife.
I don't talk about the private issues.
Why is that? Why is that?
So it's a decision. I think that if you gain public attention because you are a political leader, whenever you get a space to speak publicly, you must speak about politics. You must not abuse it for anything else. And then want to try to be a celebrity or someone who wants to speak about private issues. So I don't talk about my private issues in public. So that is basically, I don't ever talk. So there's no one who can conclusively say who I'm married to because I've never said that to anyone. And there's no one who can say how many children I have because I've never said that to anyone. It's my private life, and I keep it that way, and I prefer.
But don't you think it's a bit disingenuous because you've got a private life, right?
Yes.
But you want to serve the people. Your interest is to serve the public, right?
Yes. So if everything else that has to do with public resources is public information, so I'll never hide my political views.
But us as the public, if we want to know that, is that not disingenuous?
The issue of who shares private spaces with is private. It's not an issue for public consumption. And of course, the political leaders who feel like they must go and display their life in public. I don't do that. I also think that it's important to protect partners or spouses and children as well. Because there can be a lot of stigma, more so on children if they are children and everything else. Like, we'll even limit their teachers or educators' interaction with them because the teachers must have the freedom to say whatever they want to say about you, about anyone, without wondering whether the child is going to come and say at home that my teacher was speaking bad about you and everything else there. So I live a private life, and I prefer it that way.
Yeah.
And private doesn't mean secret, yeah.
It sounds secret.
It
No,
does.
it's
It
not.
does.
You see,
It's not the same.
my
It's
thing
not
is-
the same. It's not the same. The I live a private life, and it's not secret. So I don't go around hiding and not do what I have to do. I do what I have to do, but everything else that I do is private. That is why I've been in a public space for a relatively long time now. First, since I was in university, I was a national leader, I was SRC president, and everything else there. But I've never been an instance where people say we're going to Floyd's party or there's a group which is hosted by Floyd. I don't work like that. I speak what is important in the public space, and that is my character, and I prefer to keep it that way.
You're saying Pinduka?
No, I was saying, I
Yes.
think I get that you don't want to be a celebrity, but unlike with maybe a musician, a politician who I think you hope one day to ascend to the presidency, some people want to be able to trust you, and some people hold family values maybe close and will feel like they want to know your stance and your actual real life
100%.
family situation to say, if that man can lead us in the union buildings, can he even
Yes.
lead his own family? Does he have a family?
'Cause you can tell a
you
lot-
can protect the kids, but some people want that,
Because you can
from
tell a
a
lot
leader.
about what a man is by the woman they marry.
Yeah, for example,
Yes.
you see, so some people will.
I think those are
that look-
subjective views. Those are subjective views that you hold. My view, I think that political leaders must be gauged by what they stand for and their principles and values.
But that's part of
It's
it.
family values.
It's family values, bro.
My boy, African
So-
family values.
I think that is a reductionist view, by the way. So politicians must be gauged as to what political views ideologically and in terms of policy do you stand for, and are able to turn those policy views into action.
But
That should be the only gauge. Anything else is just showmanship.
But you can't hide behind your
and
policies,
because
bro.
do you know what then gets to happen is that the public end up being duped by people who otherwise are not supposed to be in the political space, are just supposed to be entertainers. And they end up believing that this is a political leader because he can entertain and can pretend like they care for families when they are doing something else in private and everything else there. So my principled position, which I think must be respected by everyone, is that I keep my life private in terms of what I do privately. And then everything else that has to be known by the people of South Africa will be known. I don't keep secrets. I actually always advocate that if you're a political leader, on issues that relate to business and issues that relate to relationships and politically, whatever you do and say in private, you must be able to own up in public. That is my principled stance in terms of it. But on areas which involve other people, I don't think that it's appropriate to want to talk about the lives of.
I hear what you're saying, right?
of
And
other
for me, right?
Yes.
I feel like it makes you unrelatable. In terms of like you can't. I mean, everyone's got policies, right? But in this day and age, people vote for someone who they can relate to. That like when you see someone who's running for office, you're like, oh, okay, this guy does this XYZ, I can relate to him. And then the policies are just an afterthought because everybody has policies. You get what I'm saying? But it's more about, I can relate to this
Even
guy.
in relation to that, I've got a different view as well.
Okay, what is
So,
that?
I think that people must vote for a set of policy perspectives and commitments of organizations. I'm not a fan of hyper presidentialism. There's a phenomenon which almost defines almost all societies and is very dangerous to politics, by the way, where the subjective position or positioning of a political leader determines everything else. I'll give you an example that the private views of President MacG when he was head of state on HIV/AIDS ended up being a government policy. And that is very problematic. When President Zuma was the head of state, his personal relationships with the Guptas ended up guiding what a lot of state departments do in relation to the Guptas. President Cyril Ramaphosa is head of state now. His association or affinity with the white capitalist establishment makes everyone else to think that they must tiptoe around the white capitalist establishment. And it's worse, there's extreme cases where the private views of a head of state in America just leads to even a war which is not justified, which no one can ever justify. I think politics must always be collective action. I don't believe in a hyper presidentialism where
Floyd, we just asked you who you're dating. That's it, bro.
No,
Politics.
No,
presidentialism.
I'm trying to move away from that because I think like
Okay, before you move,
if you want to have not in a public platform, if you want to ask me after this interview, I'll tell you who I'm in a relationship with.
but that's where you're getting it wrong, though.
not-
That's where
not
you're getting.
yet.
Okay,
Not
Ghost Lady,
yet,
what's
because
your
here-
take as
here-
a woman?
here-
Let's hear Ghost Lady's take. What's your take as a woman?
Here, I'm talking to you. Yes, let me listen here.
Okay. I'll say my question first. Let me just ask.
Yes.
So in 2029, let's say now you are being inaugurated, right?
Yes.
As a president of the country.
Yes.
Who are you going up on the podium with?
I'll go with my spouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a secret.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just don't feel like I should say I'm in a relationship with so and everything else there. Currently, I'm not married, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not married. I was married for a very short period of time, and even that was not public marriage. It didn't go, I think it was between 2017 and 2018. And then that marriage was discontinued for one reason or another.
Discontinued.
That's the new one. Discontinue.
Discontinued. It expired.
And then
Was pulled out of
and
the
then
shed.
I live a private life, like as to who do I get to interact with. That is how I roll.
Okay, no,
Yes.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's your stance, and we have to respect it.
Yeah.
So one thing I really wanted to know: what happened when you visited Bushiri? What was going on there?
Oh, so I know Prophet Shepherd Bushiri for a very long time, by the way. I think from 2010 or something like that. I don't know when he came to South Africa, but I know him for a very long time. So on the 21st of March, I went to the inauguration of the president of Namibia. They call it Triple N, like the very brilliant president of Namibia. And then when we're there, I met with the then president of, the then vice president, the sitting vice president of Malawi. And also met with the former president, Joyce Banda. And then they were then talking. I was sitting with them and President Zuma in the dinner table after the inauguration. And then they were then saying to President Zuma that we are going to elections in Malawi and we are failing to find each other in terms of the politics of what should happen. Like, because there's always coalitions in Malawi. And then President Zuma says that, no, the Secretary General is here, he must interact with you. Then I used the Easter weekend of 2025 to visit Malawi to meet primarily, I think that is what I've always said, with the political leadership. Then I met with former President Joyce Banda, and then I met with the then Vice President. And then I then interacted with Prophet Shepherd Bushiri, and then I went to his house. And then we had an interaction. We spoke. He's got views about what happens, and was telling me about the many things that he does in Malawi, building hotels and tourism spaces, sponsoring the national soccer teams, all sorts of things that he does and everything else. Then he says, I'm going to church and there's a lot of people from South Africa there who are coming to church. He actually said that there is, for that service, for that weekend, about above 30,000 people from South Africa who were there, and says that on his online streaming, there's more than 3 million people who registers into that online church. And more than 1 million is from South Africa. Because he has got a huge following. Then he says, no, let's go to church. Yeah. And I'm like, I can go to church. I don't have a problem with going to church.
You're not worried about the optics of, being seen in public?
Not at all. So I've been to so many churches in South Africa, and I've learned to respect all the religious denominations in South Africa. So I've been to the Nazareth Baptist Church, Ekurhuleni in KwaZulu-Natal, where you take off your shoes. When Julius Zulu comes, you must be on your knees. And yes, I've been to the 12th Apostle Church in Christ. I've been to the 12th Apostle Church in Trinity. This Easter weekend, I was in the St. Agnes Zion Christian Church. And afterward, I went to the International Pentecostal Holiness Church that is led by a Comforter Tsepiso Modise. I also went to Grace Bible Church. Had very cordial interaction with Bishop Musasono. I even went to a youth session in the Rivers of Living Water Ministries, which is led by Archbishop Zondo in Vereeniging. So I interact with a lot of religious communities. And I got to actually realize and that you have to respect people's religious views.
And what
wherever they are. And you, if there's one mistake you can ever make as a political leader, is to try to delegitimize the followers of a prophet or any leader of any church. Immediately you doubt the leader of any religious denomination, you must know that they're going to doubt you as well, because majority of our people believe in the religious leaders that they follow. So I went to the church and I didn't see anything wrong with that. And I listened to the sermon and everything else. And I know that there's law enforcement issues that Prophet Bushiri is confronted with in South Africa. Law enforcement agencies must deal with that. I'm not a law enforcement agency. And that is what it is.
Yeah.
And by the way, Prophet Bushiri is protected by the state in Malawi. So government knows how to interact with that. So the government of Malawi protects him in terms of the work that he does there and everything else. And if the South African government wants to pursue him, they know which mechanism to follow in terms of all of those issues. So I did not see anything wrong with that. I've been to many religious denominations, which some I privately think that the theological line might be wrong or might be misinterpretation of the Bible, but I'll never express that because I just have to respect what people believe in. And that is basically how I interact with everyone, yes.
I get with the fact that, yes, he's a fugitive and that's up to the police, to get to the bottom of. But you being, because you're not just anyone, you're not just any person, any South African. At the time, I think you were representing, whether you like it or not, like you said, Mr. Zuma said, meet with the president and whoever that's at in Malawi. You're also representing people who vote for a particular political party that you are the leader of. So didn't you think that may come across as not only a personal endorsement for a fugitive, but it might compromise even your party?
No, I went to church. I was going to church. That is what I was doing.
Of a fugitive.
I don't want to go into the details of the case, and I've got my own views, by the way.
Yeah.
But I don't want to enter into the.
I just want to know, did you debate in your head whether should you go or not?
And you know what? Actually, I don't regret having gone there. By the way,
that's crazy.
Yeah. And if you have got more than 1 million people in South Africa who are following a church denomination, who are you to want to doubt them? By the way, let me, I will not mention names, by the way. There is leaders of a very large religious streams in South Africa, which have got upward of 3, 4, 5 millions, who have got litigations against them, like very heavy litigations against them and everything else. And most of whom we have visited, even with President Zuma. who have got court rulings against them in terms of, but it's like that, like, and who are you to want to judge and everything else there? So,
No, I hear
those
that.
people can judge in terms of how they want to judge you, but that is what it is. Like, I went to church, and if the law enforcement agencies want to arrest Mr. Bushiri, they must go and arrest him.
All right, can I ask you my question before I forget? Ne?
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, what is the relationship between politicians and churches, right? Is it just the follow? Are you going there for the numbers of who the church represents? Because you keep mentioning his church has 1 million followers. Is that the primary reason why we see politicians and churches?
No.
And would you not go to a church with 20 people?
Yeah.
You know those on the side of the bridge where they're white? No, they don't go there. Politicians don't go there. They always go with the grand churches.
That is not the, I think, look, majority of politicians and political parties, by the way, including the ones that I served in and left, like including the ANC, they use churches as electoral platforms, like, and only visit when it's during elections and everything else. So now, with the organization that I'm leading now, Africa Might Be a Movement, because we went to listen to the people on the ground before we founded the organization. A substantial number of the people of South Africa, actually 90% of South African people belong to religious institutions. They are organized already. And majority of submissions from pastors and from even traditional leaders, they were always expressing concern that politicians or political leaders and political parties only come to churches whenever there's a crisis or whenever there's elections. Why don't you find a way of basing yourself within the religious institutions? Because in any way, religious leaders end up being recipients of service delivery concerns and grievances, which were going to be handled by politicians. So when people lose jobs and when people have got a lot of their houses are repossessed, they go and complain to the pastors because there's no councillor, there's no government in sight in majority of times. Then they say, why don't you base yourselves with all the religious institutions so that you are able to know what are the concerns of the people? So ourselves now, we do not use church for electoral purposes. We interact with religious institutions. That is why in the entirety of our leadership structures, we always involve religious leaders because we deeply and genuinely respect them.
Man,
And of course, I've got my own religious views and perspective as to how I handle certain aspects of life. But generally, I think that the whole of society, if majority of society is organized in religious institutions, as a leader, you must respect them. That is the only thing that you have to do. Leaders must respect the people. Don't superimpose your subjective views on the people. That is basically what it is about.
Man, this is going to be a tough conversation, bro.
Yes, let it be.
Bro, you've been a politician for far too long. He can't talk normally, bro. He's like a robot, dog.
Nah, I think he can, man.
bro.
Just know the camera. Not in front of the camera. I think he's just programmed.
But then what is the point?
Surely
Because we just
personally
want a
doesn't speak
genuine
like this.
conversation,
No,
bro.
let's
You got
have
too
the
much political
conversation.
jargon, bro.
It's not jargon.
It's too much,
It's not
Floyd.
jargon.
You don't speak like this, chilling with your voice, man. Having
It's
cocktails.
not jargon. It's not jargon. Look, I'm an activist. Like that is what it is. I'm an activist, and I think that in my life of activism, there was a stage, of course, when you're still learning politics, right? And then you get huge persuasion about something. Then you feel like your ideological or political views are the only correct ones. And then you must impose that on society. And you feel like you must now go and teach society to see the world the way you see it yourself. But now I have grown to appreciate that correct and proper political leaders must be able to articulate the views, the grievances, the aspirations of the people on the ground.
You do know.
And majority of our people are.
But you do know. You do know. We didn't get you here to talk to Floyd the politician.
Not here.
We want to talk to Floyd the person.
I spoke to I asked earlier, what are you going to ask me? What are you going
We
to
want to
about?
know Floyd the person.
Ask me
So
about
let's
me.
try this again.
ask me.
What do you like to do for fun? I want to hear this.
Like, what do I do for, like, I mean, like, majority of times because of the work that I do now, I'm always busy with political work. But also I exchange ideas with people.
For fun.
That is so fun. You know,
That doesn't sound fun. Come on,
that
Floyd, man.
is, that is what
Come on, Nico. Nico.
And then now
Nico.
recently, I watch football once in a while. I listen to music.
Okay.
You know, I listen to music and what else? I listen to music. I watch soccer, and now I got to pay attention to what happens in agriculture and all of those things. So
I prefer it.
basically, that is basically all about it.
So with all this
In the-
experience, when we
Yes.
come to 2026 and you see the Madlanga Commission, what's your take on it?
Look, for some reason, I've always suspected, or somehow some of the things knew, that the criminal justice system is extremely corrupted in South Africa, and I have got concern though that in the same way we were overzealous around the so-called state capture inquiries. Remember, there was state capture inquiries where Parliament, almost all committees were focusing on state capture. I almost feel like the Madlanga Commission and even the ad hoc committee is now going to be just another form of palace politics, where those who are in the palace are fighting amongst each other and they'll end up not doing anything to each other. Maybe few of the people will be arrested and I don't see a direct relationship with what is happening there with the lives of ordinary people. My conception and view of what politics should achieve, even parliament, is that we must discuss solutions to the problems of South Africa. I've grown enough to appreciate that parliament, like even from all political parties, we must sit down in parliament and say there's a crisis of water in South Africa. How do we bring about water? Like, these are the areas that lack water.
But let's not
How do we
dissect.
take
What
water?
do you
So
think about the system? Is it still independent?
Look,
Is it a mafia state?
It's a criminal state. Like, we are living in a deeply criminal state, by the way. Like, I'm aware of that. Like I said in one of the interviews I did, that there are criminal components which are officially above the law. Like, which can tell even the police leadership or minister that I'm going to kill so and so, and then that person gets killed. And then the police system ignores the
case.
Yeah, the case. And it goes to the extent, by the way, where the criminal cartel starts to demarcate spheres of crime in South Africa. So that happens, by the way, where they say for drugs, this group is responsible for the Western Cape. For cash in transit heist, you are allowed to operate up until this level. Like for these, there is a system that determines that, and the South African Police Service is aware of that. Let me see if I can say this that I'm not allowed to. So then there's also it has got its own internal enforcement as well.
But what
like so do you know? Let me see. Okay, I can say it like this so that you can understand it clearly, because it's so there's a grouping in Venda, by the way, which was called Jerusalem.
Yes, I've heard of Jerusalem.
Yeah,
yes.
they were considered to be. So for some
from Thando.
Because Thando is very close to Malamlele, where I come from. So majority of my friends stay in Venda. So So one of my friends then invited me to a party, and then there were people of Jerusalem there. I was not even aware.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So when I came back to Johannesburg, one of the very senior people then came to me to say, no, you must tell Jerusalem that they must stick to their lines. We have demarcated them. They must not cross the line because they will get killed. And so what are you talking about? Then what is Jerusalem? And then someone had to remind me, no, Jerusalem is that grouping. Then I was like, oh. So that person had thought that maybe I'm part of Jerusalem as well, in terms of... and I think all those members of Jerusalem are dead now.
Yeah, they got killed. So I guess they crossed the line.
So they is, and the state is aware of that.
Sure, that's crazy.
And the state is fully aware of that. And by the way, there are political leaders who hobnob with the other government that demarcates.
So let's say you win and you become a president. What are you going to do knowing this information?
Yeah.
I think there are so many measures that can be utilized to stop crime in South Africa, completely. The state has got huge capacity to could prevent even crime before it even occurs. I mean,
But you said that if the cartel is above the state.
Then we have to take the state to be above the cartel. That is the first thing as a matter of principle that we have to do. But you will not be able to do that if you hobnob with the cartels. If you want to negotiate funding from the cartel and then you want to negotiate collaboration and then you say, no, it's just friendship and everything else there. If you want to collaborate with the cartel, even when you then assume state responsibilities, you are still going to be subject to their rule in terms of how they get to handle. And there are so many of the political leadership that gets to account there as well. So because, by the way, the other thing as well that they seem to have done and mastered now. So some components in the beginning, they used to do those things of disrupting construction programs and then demand 30%. So now they enter deep into the procurement system. So before tender letters are issued, they already know who are the shortlisted people, and then they call you and say, listen, you're shortlisted for this. So you might need to pay us this before we award you.
So are you telling me from the Madlanga Commission, what we are now privy to, that's like a scratch of the surface?
It is a scratch, yeah. It is definitely a scratch.
It's like 10% of what's really happening.
Yeah, but the state has got the capacity to could stop crime in South Africa. Even with the advanced technology
They just don't want to.
Yeah, they just not, and mostly because a lot of them get to be implicated as well in wrongdoing.
And what's happening in Ekurhuleni, man? Ekurhuleni, the corruption there seems like it's out of hand, man. So there's a story: a suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Deputy Chief Julius Malema is appearing again at the Madlanga Commission. From your perspective, how deep does the corruption run in Ekurhuleni? Because the former EFF MMC of Finance in Ekurhuleni is now the MEC of Finance in Gauteng. What does that say about accountability in government?
Because he was fired for mismanagement.
Yes.
As an MMC to begin with.
We've also seen links between corruption investigations and the killing of municipalities' CFOs. Is this now systemic? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Ekurhuleni, but so you know the current government of Ekurhuleni, of course, is a product of the 2021 local government elections.
Yeah.
So when the 2021 local government elections happened, there was, of course, no outright winner. And then the EFF was a deciding vote there. And then Mzwandile thought he's going to be re-elected as a mayor, although he had got about 39% of the vote. So he thought he's going to persuade his friend, the president of the EFF too. So then they spent time together even the night before the election of the mayor. Then I went on the day of election of the mayor. to then guide the comrades there that we can't vote for the ANC because that time the EFF had taken a decision to vote against the ANC everywhere. And then we had to put DA mayor there, some white person, I don't know her name. But it was not to vote for the DA, it was to punish the ANC because that was the principle that you cannot allow And then with the passage of time, we realized that the DA was incapable to guide the entire municipality. And the first thing that then got to happen after our discussions with Panyaza and TK, so I led the discussions, then said that let us remove the DA from government, but let us get a mayor from a minority party. And then the ANC and EFF will constitute the government. Then we then elected the mayor from the African Independent Congress. And then we then had a speaker from the EFF, and then some positions were occupied by members of the EFF, some were occupied by the ANC. And with the passage of time, we realized that that approach of putting a minority mayor doesn't work. It actually renders the municipality dysfunctional because a political party with one councillor or two councillors in a municipality can't preside over the ones which have got huge numbers there. Even if they are involved in wrongdoing. Like, who are you? Like, even if you are a mayor, you can't call the MMC, who's the regional chair of the ANC or regional chair of the EFF,
yes, of course.
come and account.
Yes.
I want to act with which power? You don't have power.
No numbers.
And then we then restarted the discussion to say that despite the fact that we had said that we want to reject the ANC, let us allow the ANC to lead government in Ekurhuleni. And then we then got a doctor, the current mayor, to.
So this corruption that we're seeing, it's under which?
It's under which I want to give you an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
So there are so many things which Ekurhuleni could have done differently, but because of personal interest, even of people that were in the EFF, a lot of things were not done properly. Like, for instance, like myself, I was like, why do we have bucket toilets in Ekurhuleni? There's 46,620 bucket toilets in Ekurhuleni. And you know how that works is that the municipality spends upward of 3 billion rands paying the people who deliver those bucket toilets, and then they bring some trucks called honey suckers to come and collect every month. Then when we then say that, but there is a system of alternate sanitation where you can put in place a flushing toilet, which is much more dignified and everything else there. The beneficiaries of the bucket toilets will fight you with everything. You know, one of the people that I was working with was saying to our colleagues that, because I had given a directive that the bucket toilets must go because that is in the manifesto of the EFF. One of the people that we were working with was saying, Floyd wants to destroy my business. What are my children going to eat? Then realized that the problem is far much more deeper. And it's very easy, man. You know, the most tragic thing that happened to Ekurhuleni was a lady who was a municipal manager there. I only got to see her character when she was in Madlanga Commission.
Oh, Imogen Mashazi.
Yeah.
Imogen or Imogen Mashazi. Yeah, that's the name.
Because, you know, the members of the mayoral committee, both from the EFF and the ANC, were extremely fearful of that lady. So every time we'll say, why are you comrades not removing bucket toilets? Why are you not insourcing security guards? They will be like, hey, the city manager is here. But you are a political principal. She's supposed to be accounting to you. They say, hey, you do not know what happens there. They say, no, she even chairs mayoral committee meetings. Actually, I think Dunga was saying to me one day that in one mayoral committee meeting, she was saying to MMCs of the ANC that, speak louder, I can't hear you.
She's got too much power.
And the first time I met her, I bumped into her in one of the areas here in Central Center. And I did not know how even she looked at me. She says, how are you? Then I'm shocked, who is this one? Then she says, no, my name is Dr. Imogen Mashazi. And I was like, oh, okay. Ekurhuleni. Then he says that. Then I said, what is happening in the municipality there? He says, those councillors are fools, all of them. They're all foolish. I was extremely shocked. But here is a person who says the collective of people that he's supposed to account to are fools. He says, all of them are foolish. Those are
That's
foolish.
crazy.
Whoa.
But they were extremely fearful of him. Like, do you know, I'll tell you, even when we were then discussing with Banyaza and TK, and there's a guy called Duduzile, I think Bushiri was in that meeting.
Yeah.
And I think Doctor was there. So in one of the meetings, I say,
Jabati, yes.
if we are going to allow the ANC to lead the municipality as mayor, the city manager must go because there's a lot of complaints about her. That is in the negotiations. I think the first person to excuse himself was Banyaza. He says, hey, comrades, I got another meeting. And he left, and the others left as well. And I was like, what is happening here? Because, and by the way, that is just a microcosm or just an illustration of what happens in a lot of municipalities.
And I wanted to ask you,
Yes.
so with the race, the mayor race now that's coming up, right? What are your predictions in Joburg? What do you think is going to happen?
So, two options with Johannesburg. One is that the Africa Mabuya movement is going to win outright. And if not, there will not be an outright winner. The highest possibility, by the way, for almost all metropolitan municipalities, the highest possibility is that almost all metropolitan municipalities, including Nelson Mandela Bay, Buffalo City Municipality, Mangaung, Cape Metro, eThekwini, there will not be an outright winner. Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni. And that will then require the maturity of the political parties that are participating to constitute stable governments that are driven by the fight against corruption, but also prioritize
coalition.
the development of our communities. I think that is where all the metros are going to be hung, and all the...
So you don't mind going in
large
coalition with
town.
Helen Zille? You don't mind?
So my principle, by the way, and that is derived out of experience and pure observation. I don't think that municipal government should be subjected to political dealing, where you say, take this, then we've got 51%, then we take the municipality. I think there must be an established principle in all municipalities in South Africa that the leading party, even if it's not the majority party, must fill the mayor candidate. That is that if it's Maibuye that is number one, the mayor must come from Maibuye. If it's MK that is number one, the mayor must come from MK. If it's EFF that is number one, the mayor must come from EFF. If it's DA that is number one, it must come from there, and we must constitute stable governments. I'm not a fan of those things that a winner takes all, or even just because you have coalesced into some small arrangement, you then even give, what is that, Al-Jama. You then say Gwamanda must be a mayor. Who is Gwamanda going to give? Who is Gwamanda going to oversee? Because in that executive that is leading, there's a regional chairperson of the ANC.
Okay, fair point.
And the regional chairperson of the ANC has got more than 80 ward councillors
I get
in the council. How is he going to say that
be told.
MMC or finance, this you are doing is wrong? Then MMC will say you are crazy. Like, there's only two of you here.
No, fair enough. I hear that.
So that is a principle that we must then establish across all municipalities, that the leading parties must field mayoral candidate. And there must be government that is constituted based on principle, yes.
I want to move on to the CIC, Julius Malema. He's got a case currently happening now for the firearm...
the firearm charges.
Firearm charges.
The firearm in a rally.
He could face 15 years in prison. Has the sentencing been done yet?
No.
Did we find out?
No.
Just check for us there, fair checker. But you were there on the day.
He was not sentenced today.
Yeah, you were there on the day.
It's a
Can you give me your POV of what transpired that day?
One is that there are multiple observations that I'll make. One is that I don't think that AfriForum or any state institution should utilize the courts of law as political weapons for whatever wrongdoing, right? That is my first observation. And I think that it was opportunistic for AfriForum to push the National Prosecutions Authority to indict him for whatever happened there in 2018. I think
But I'm saying you were there. Did you say anything wrong with it?
Observation number one.
But did you say anything wrong with it?
Observation number two.
But wait.
I think, no. I'm coming today. I'm going to respond that in a very clear way.
He's thinking of how he's going to speak.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Observation number two is that I think it's childish to play with guns, whether it's real or toy guns. If it's a toy gun, it's even worse.
Yeah.
I think it's childish. So I was there. I think the issue is sub judice. I don't know whether it's a toy gun or a real gun. I didn't touch it and everything else there. But I think general to play with guns is childish.
So you see,
and if it's a toy gun, it's even much more childish.
So you saw something wrong with it.
Like I don't associate with that. It's not my culture. It's not my style.
But are you not advising him to be like, don't do that, comrade?
People can do whatever they want to do. There's a lot of less than desirable things which many people that we work with do, and we just observe.
So did you mention this though? Like, because he says he was your guy. Did you say, hey, my man, I don't think that move was the smartest, bro?
Like, I'll tell you something that since 2018, if you were to calculate the amount of money that has been spent on lawyers and busing supporters to go and say hands off CIC, it's possibly about 50 million rand because of childish behavior. I don't associate with that. And I generally, even when I was in the EFF, because I attended some of the court cases, I was like, why should we leave the work of going to interact with branches on the ground and come and sit there in those hard benches for the whole day?
Okay, fact checker, you had your hand up. Can you just say what you wanted to say?
Yeah,
fact checker.
I just wanted to let you know that there hasn't been any verdict as yet. They said that the proceedings will continue for tomorrow, Thursday morning.
Oh, Thursday morning, we'll find out. Okay, Penduka.
Yes, but like I was saying, I like that the fact that you said if you look back with the EFF, there've been many money is wasted on lawyers over childish utterances or behaviors. Were you, though, as the second in command, calling him out in private? Obviously, it can't happen in a forum with his people. Like MacG, if I do something reckless, I know I'll get a text at some point to say, hey, Boyzin, that thing, man, is going to compromise what we're trying to build. Were you, at any point telling him these kind of things, like, hey, man, I don't think you should say that or move like this, because now you're saying it's childish behavior.
I think I've made that observation correctly. So the other thing as well, which maybe will make me a boring interview as well. Interviewee.
It's past gone then.
Yeah, it's past gone then. Yeah. So the other thing which the other thing that I don't do, and it's a matter of principle, right? Is that there are so many things which when you are leading an organization, you get exposed to. As a leader, right? And some of it is private and some of it is even secret. I don't take advantage of that because I've left the political organization.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah, so I don't including with MK, I got exposed to a lot of very scary things, but some of the things I can't talk about outside of so I just leave it. Even when people, because I think it's abuse of privacy, and also it make people to be undependable and unreliable.
100%. So what do you think is going to happen now? So let's say the judgment comes out tomorrow and he's getting sentenced 15 years. What do you think will happen to the EFF? Do you think he can survive?
I don't think the EFF will survive even if he's not sentenced, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
interesting.
Wow. I think there's been, what we initially thought should be the EFF all about. It's not what it is now. It has joined into the band of people who are looking for tenders and contracts and government and everything else there. So whether he is in prison or not and everything else there, I don't think it is going to survive.
So when you say
And a
that
lot
it
of
is
people,
joint
so-
during your time, that was not the case.
So it began then,
Oh, I get
and
you.
against our caution. So, and I always say that we used to guide even those who were deployed in the municipalities as government, as councillors, that the policy of the economic freedom fighters, which I wrote as one of the 7 cardinal pillars, is building state capacity with the aim of abolishing tenders. So that is basically the principle that.
So where do you think the
and
change
then,
was? Where do you think the change was? As someone who
I
was
think the change happened when there was contact with government. So once people realized that they can extort tenderpreneurs and then they can put their companies and be awarded tenders there, then they thought that, hey, let us join into eating.
When you picked this up in the EFF, did you guys get rid of those members or discipline them somehow? Or in corruption?
I raised that several times.
Yeah.
And
you don't have the final say.
Look, and the other issue as well is that, and I raise it politically consistently, by the way. And if someone dares me that, show me what you have said, I will be able to do that. But I don't want to abuse
of course,
of the spaces that we then got to raise. And you know how this thing happens, by the way, Mark, is that political parties, including the DA and the ANC, they say, no, we want to fund the organization. So we must then please our people to get tenders from government, and then when they make profits and huge margins, they will donate to the organization.
Of course.
So it is presented as such. But when time progresses, you realize is that it's not about that. It's about self-enrichment.
Who's
about
donating for Africa, my boy? Do you have any donations?
No, we do not have any donation that is worth mentioning now. So in terms of the law, a donation that is worth mentioning must be above 200,000 rands. And we have not yet received a donation above 200,000 rand. And when we do receive such, we're going to make the whole of South Africa.
So somebody can just keep sending 199.
You gotta find a loophole, boy. You gotta play the system, play the laws, the rules. Bend the maneuver between the rules.
They've got a regulatory mechanism that says that if it's from a one source, if it exceeds the 200,000 within a financial year, it must still be declared.
I saw like at the Easter when you pulled up to Grace, I think you pulled up in like a very fancy car. Even now, it's a very costly car. So how do you afford these things?
No, that is the
You've got merch as well.
No,
and Von Cleef. I want to Von Cleef.
It's the car of my cousin brother. So my cousin brother is and his name is Musa.
Musa, I don't know Musa. Musa Sono,
that one is not my car. Also, even like on a daily basis, everyone else who knows me that actually even those people that were welcoming me there, they were possibly seeing that car for the first time.
Okay.
And despite them being my colleagues, so I don't.
7 Series.
I don't want. Even if I had mine, I was never gonna buy a sedan.
But do you see how much secrecy you guys have as politicians?
Even if I had money, I was never gonna buy a sedan car because I drive in rural areas. I drive in a very dangerous road, so
I would,
the 4x4, man, it's very costly, man.
So yeah,
like
and
you understand what I'm saying, Pedro?
That is what. And you must remember that I was member of parliament for consistent 10 years, from when I was age 31 until I was age 41.
Yeah.
And you know what happens in parliament?
No.
So they take half of your salary to give it to you once you leave parliament. Yeah, so that is what happened.
Man.
So you can calculate, yes.
So that's how you afforded the car now.
So you can calculate how much money.
But I saw Boy Mamabolo's payslip. I think if it was his. Was that a legit payslip? I mean, the parliamentarian walks away with like 36,000 rand. After like 100,000 rands.
I don't know about that, yeah. So but parliament takes a bigger portion of your salary so that when you are out, they actually do that as well with medical aid. So when you are a member of parliament, you will pay. There's a medical aid scheme called PAMED.
Yes.
For members of parliament. When you are in parliament, you pay 5,000-6,000 rand per month. But then when you leave Parliament, then they take it down so that you are able.
And you can't do BBLs with that one, eh?
I don't know about that. What is BBL?
Floyd, hey, he's good, hey. Man, go to Floyd's Instagram and see he's following.
No.
Bump into Floyd or follow me. I'm like, man.
I want to play a video, Bra
is.
Floyd, ne?
What is BBL?
We had Kunene on the show earlier.
What does it stand for?
Brazilian butt lift. It's those girls who get enhanced bumps from the doctor. You know, man, Bra Floyd. The one who's look amazing on Instagram.
So this is Kenny Kunene. This is what he had to say about you.
I thought it's a product of a gym or something.
No.
Listen
to this. Can we have the audio? The audio is off
Product
there.
of a doctor.
Is it on there? Speaker? I think it's on mute. Or just increase the volume. Volume there. No. On the actual player. See where the volume is down there? You see, next to pause, there should be a volume. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay, let me play it here on my phone. It's fine. Yeah, give me my phone. Let me play it rather. Because I don't want to mince the words. Straight from the horse's mouth.
So what was he saying?
We're going to
Are
find
you
out
here now? We're not trying to quote him. We must
Yes.
hear him. You know?
It's Kenny Mackenzie.
Yeah, Kenny Mackenzie. When you guys were comrades at some point.
No, he's my friend.
Oh, you're still close.
Yeah, I were friends long before the formation of
Oh, wow, man.
They started EFF altogether.
Yes. I thought now that's where it started. He's saying way before that. They've been
Okay,
friends.
cool. Yeah, listen. Here we go. Julius and Floyd can survive on their own or they need each other.
They needed each other. Floyd once said to me when I said to him, but why do you allow Julius to treat you like this? We're at my house. Why do you allow Julius to treat you like this, bro?
A question.
Takes your women.
Damn, I'm on the same top. Someone buy me clothes. Damn. Buy me clothes, guys. Go fund me.
To get the
So what is that about? Like, look, I know Kenny. Let me give you a context. I know Kenny for a very long time, like when he was owning ZA. Because he was owning ZA when I was the national spokesperson of the ANC clique. And there was a whole thing that if you are a communications person of the ANC clique, you must be where the youth
smart,
are.
Man.
Where the youth are and
Yeah, we used
everything
to see you guys at those clubs. Yeah, you and
So
Julius.
then we used to go most of the time. But now myself, would also get to spend time together. Yeah. So he didn't co-found the EFF Kenny. So I'll explain to you what happened with the
No.
EFF
Before we get
process.
to that, is he telling the truth though?
I think his memory is failing him. Yeah. It happens. No, it does happen.
Old age, yeah?
Yeah, no, it happens.
Old age, man.
And I actually met him recently somewhere, we greeted and then said, no, we're going to call each other and everything else. His memory is failing him. Also, do you know, I'm not in those things of...
Women.
Yeah, of trying to be of multiple concurrent sexual relationships.
Okay.
It's not my game. I don't roll like that. I'm a commitment guy. And it's not like and it's not like and we also and by the way, I got to realize something that not only in this interview. Him, also Julius as well. The memory fades easily for both of them. Yeah. On how they recount how
things transpired.
The EFF was founded. So what I did, by the way, in 2014, I wrote a book, by the way.
Yes, because we've had Mbuyiseni to explain.
I wrote a book.
Kenny explained what happened. CIC
I wrote a book which was published. It was actually it was one of the best-selling books when it was listed in exclusive.
So what's your recollection?
No, but it's there in the book. So this is, by the way, what happened with the formation of the EFF. I think I explained earlier in the politics that once the ANC clique had gained ascendance ideologically in the ANC, then there was the banishment and everything else. And the first time I wrote about the formation of an alternate vehicle to fight for economic freedom in our lifetime was in 2012. I actually even wrote an article for the Sunday Independent to say that the ANC is not the correct vehicle to fight for economic freedom in our lifetime. We need to found a youthful, vibrant organization that must fight for economic freedom in our lifetime. And then I argued very strongly in terms of how we... And then began to write to all the comrades that we're working with to say, let us found a different organization. This thing of the ANC is not a correct instrument to fight for economic freedom in our lifetime. Julius was very dismissive, by the way, in the beginning. And then approached David Masondo, the current deputy minister. He doesn't want us to talk about this because he's a deputy minister of finance. And approached Christopher Malikana. He's a professor of economics at Wits University. And then later on, Julius then agreed to say, no, let us take this route. And by the way, when we were starting the discussions, he was not going to be the president. There was even a discussion that let us make Chris Malikana to be the face of the economic freedom fighters. So even when I did the email to explain how the organization should be like, I wrote one of the 7 cardinal pillars that this is the 7 cardinal pillars that is going to define the organization. And the organization is going to be called Economic Freedom Fighters. And then we tried to engage with NUMSA leadership, NUMSA General Secretary Ivan Jim. And then I spoke to Mbuyiseni. Mbuyiseni was extremely doubtful. He says that I can't work with Julius because the things that I hear about him are not appropriate and all of those other things there. And then Mbuyiseni, I think, went to even consult himself separately with Ivan Jim. And Ivan Jim says, never, I will never work with Julius. But then later on, we ended up proceeding without most of those other role players and recruited most of the people that got to be part of.
So it was your brainchild.
I think it will be. What is a better word of hubris?
You're a thesaurus. You have all the words.
No,
bro.
Boastful.
Yeah, it will be boastful to just say.
But it's factual.
But I contributed to. I wrote that.
So
and by the way, like in the original email where I said we must take this route, I even predicted its future. I said we start a youthful organization that must not be too much dependent on huge resources. We go to our communities and mobilize people. And then I said that in the first elections, we're going to get 1 million votes. And then we will then grow that number to be bigger. And then wrote, by the way, in the founding manifesto of the EFF. You must go and read the founding manifesto of the EFF. There's a section that talks about the diagnostics. It's 15 diagnostics as to just how do we read the current balance of forces. It was very predictive as to what is going to happen in South Africa. So those are things what I wrote in the email and later on wrote in the founding documents of the EFF to say that the ANC is going to gradually dissipate, whether we are there or not. Whether we found an organization or not is going to dissipate. And then said, let us found the organization so that when it dissipates, it doesn't get pushed rightward ideologically. We must form an organization that will push it leftward ideologically, meaning that if now it is desperate for a coalition in the future, it must work with the left organization and still protect the interests and aspirations of the black majority. That is what we wrote, by the way.
So when do you decide Julius must be president?
We then decided in the build-up to the National Assembly on what is to be done. So we convened a National Assembly on what is to be done.
When you say we, who are you talking about at this point?
It was myself and him.
Okay.
And then we then brought in the other people, and then Kenny came later, and then we brought in Mbuyiseni. We brought in Marshall, the current Secretary General. Marshall was very, he was very reluctant as well. Actually, like, I just wrote his name that is part of the national leadership without consulting with him. And then he was like, why do you put my name there?
Yeah.
You're going to endanger my work because he's involved in business.
100%.
Like, in terms of... and then we got to put up people there. It was very tough. Like, the hall that we founded the EFF in, who couldn't all of us collectively raise 3,000 rand to pay for that hall there.
Whoa.
In Soweto. Yeah. We almost cancelled the founding conference because
You telling me Kenny
3,000
couldn't
rand.
sell one of his watches?
I didn't have.
Oh, wait. After having Zara, all these clubs, all the sushis and the Porsches.
He didn't have.
Well,
he
that
didn't
doesn't
have.
make sense.
No, he didn't have.
Yes.
Gaten
Yeah,
has been
even
a
that
prince.
thing that he says he funded the EFF is not true.
Yeah.
The only thing which they did with Gaten was that I used to drive a car which Julius was using to go to the launching meeting there. A BMW 7 Series. So I used to drive 7 Series, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a new thing.
Yeah. So it's not a. And that in my late 20s,
Wow.
like in early 30s, the only thing which they did with Gaten was to contribute to buying a tire of a car, or like that is the only contribution.
So you're at the hall, now you decide, okay, let's
Then
go.
we founded the organization, and a very tough conference, like no food. And majority of delegates that have come there with taxis, they couldn't go back. We had to wait and fundraise for money to pay for the taxis to go back to different areas. And then we went to the ground. And by the way, even during the campaign period, we literally wait outside the hotels waiting for someone to send 1,200 to get into the hotel. And build the organization from scratch.
Wow.
And then contested for elections. And then we went into parliament. And we were greatly helped as well by some of the printing companies. Actually, they are not ashamed about that. Like there's a company of Dr. Govender in Durban called Kairos. We didn't even know that when you go to parliament, there will be an allocation for a budget. He said, no, I've got faith in this organization. I will give you some of the T-shirts and posters.
Wow.
You will pay me when you're in parliament.
Wow.
So where are we going to get the money in parliament? And then there is another company called Nyalu Communications. That is the company that produced the berets, the first berets of the EFF.
Oh.
And is the company that paid for all the regalia and the banners for the founding conference. It's the company whose graphic designers designed that logo of the EFF, which and then now was responsible for the communications things, the Twitter and Facebook and everything else, and hyping up that no, we're going to take over government or government in waiting.
Yeah.
And you know, by the way, look, just quickly. And part of the reasons why I hate to say that we're government in waiting that time was because in one of the meetings, Julius said, no, comrades, if we build this thing properly, the ANC will be able to accept us back. Then I said, we're not fighting to be taken back by the ANC. We're fighting to replace the ANC. We're a government in waiting. And that is when we then utilize.
So I guess he didn't
that
read
as a
the
principle.
7 pillars.
Yeah.
So that is how the organization was funded. But then let me tell you something which, and I was never going to speak like this.
Of course.
Then I then say that despite the fact that we have taken a decision at a closed range that we are going to found the organization in this format, the public narrative that we must give is that the EFF is a product of the people. It is founded by the people. That is the narrative that. So Maibuya is genuinely founded by the people. You can give evidence about that, right? But then we took a communications decision that we should say that the organization was founded by the people and everything. So if you read or you listen to Julius' speech in the first anniversary in Thokoza Park in Soweto, so the narrative was that this organization is not founded by Julius or by Floyd or by anyone. It is founded by the people of South Africa. And that is the narrative which we're supposed to own up to it, all of us. Later on, when the memory begins to fade with this conference, then the narratives begins to change. In some of the narratives as well, even the roles that some of us have played is beginning not to be mentioned. Like someone says that, I was in a farm there and then I came across this thing and I thought I must found the EFF. And sometimes some of the misrepresentations are said in my presence. I'm like, hey, Hey, no, we ukuhamba kukubona. Yeah. So I was like, but it happens. It's opportunism, by the way, that always defines people. And grew the organization. It currently has got more than 1,200 public representatives, councillors, members of the provincial legislatures, members of parliament. And a lot of people, you know what gives me pride about the EFF is that when I see people like employed and they buy cars, they build homes for their families.
From your brainchild.
Yes,
we're certain it's a beautiful home.
And then they now when I left to MK, then they lined up to start insulting me on social media, and some of them, actually most of them. Julius was refusing to deploy them to parliament. So I will insist that no, this one must go to parliament. This one must. It was like, and then, but they will be there every day. It's a sellout. Hey, he has betrayed the revolution. I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about.
And I love that you mentioned the MK party because let's talk about Duduzile Zuma. She's been in court since yesterday facing terrorism-related charges linked to the July unrest. You've worked closely with her, obviously.
Yeah.
Based on your
I've not
experience...
worked closely with her. I worked closely with her father.
With her father, right?
Yeah, not with her.
But with your experience, is she capable of that level of coordination or is this just like politically driven?
By the way, Duduzile has never said anything in my presence, anything political. I've one day encouraged her to say something in a meeting. She's never said anything. The only thing I saw her do was to come to a meeting wearing a t-shirt written "Try Me Boys" or something like that. Celebrating a boyfriend. She has never said anything.
Yeah.
Like zero.
What
In majority of times, by the way, when I would go and see President Zuma and she will be there, President Zuma will be saying that, hey, yeah, like it would have to give space for the leadership to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's never been but what I got to know as
Saul doesn't understand when you said she was celebrating a boyfriend.
I don't want to talk about
Try Me Boys. It's a quote.
I don't know.
I see now.
You got it?
I see what you mean. Come on.
Yeah.
I see.
That is just never said anything. Zero.
And then
but of course, because it's their father, right? Then just got these things of whispering to him, hey, Floyd is a problem, and all of those things. And then that is when you know that there was a day she sent some insults about me when Cape Town there. It's because she had employed a lot of people who were not qualified there and gave them rational levels of salaries. There as staff, as support staff. Like you find PAs who were being paid more than members of parliament. And researchers who never had qualifications is zero.
Whoa.
So I had started the process of review that I'm going to remove all of those people there because I don't play games. Then she realized that I'm going to collapse a mini empire there. And then she agitated people to disrupt the meeting. And when President Zuma came to collect order and affirmed my centrality as the Secretary General, then she snapped and then the insult.
Do you think her father loved you or he was just using you as a tool?
Look, I don't deal with politics like that, and I don't have that measurement stick of whether it's love or not and everything. So I agreed on principle on certain things, but also from outside, I had a lot of sympathy for MK, by the way, and more so because before Umkhonto Wesizwe was founded, I met with President Zuma in October here in Forest Town, in his house. And then he was explaining, before it was publicly announced to say that we're going to found an organization like this and that and that. And then after elections, actually we then agreed that time that no, go and found the organization. And then made a commitment on behalf of the EFF that, what this means is that we're not going to insult each other because Julius' main politics that time was to insult Zuma, hey, big head, and all of those things. Hey, we'll pay back the money, it's a victory, and all of those things there. Then we said, no, we're going to persuade the leadership of the EFF to move away from insulting you and Umkhonto weSizwe. So if you were to check during the election campaign of 2024, there were no official insults to President Zuma. I think we only did once in Soshanguve somewhere when he realized that it looks like MK people are coming very strongly. And then after elections, I then got to see how the members of parliament of MK were struggling with basic things, and then would also always listen to them. And then there's a guy whom I had recruited to the EFF, who is a family member of President Zuma, called Makazela Mzobe. He was the head of presidency of MK. So he had joined the EFF. Then he came to me to say he wants to go to... He had joined the EFF. Then he said he wants to go to MK to go and assist. Then I said, please go, because there seem to be chaos. I can see with their members of parliament that they've got chaos. Then he went there and he couldn't resolve the chaos. Then, in that period, then President Zuma asked to see me. Then he explains that these people that I've assembled here do not have capacity. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they have to do. Please come and help us. My first approach was that, look, I can help you to formalize the organization. Because to formalize the organization, you need foundational documents. That is what I made a commitment. Then in the beginning, I was like, I can do it when I'm still the deputy president of the EFF. Then I was like, but why do I? Because it's not like, let me just go and join MK and assist from inside. And there was no commitment on any position. And by the way, when I then took that decision, he says that, no, I actually want to announce you as the president of Umkhonto weSizwe.
Yo.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Like, we're in here in Sexen Hotel. And I refused. And then I said, never. And then I said, not even Secretary General. I'll just want to come and help. Like, I don't want any position. Then we went to meet again in Durban, in Oyster Box or Box Hotel, whatever, something like that. And then he says that, no, I've consulted with my people. You must be announced as a president. I said, no, I'll never be announced as a president. I won't be president of MK. I don't want to be president of MK. I don't want to occupy any senior responsibility.
So then why would you come out and say that you didn't know what you were doing?
No. So then let me give you the context of... Then I came, when I joined MK, then I got to formalize the organization and renamed everything. And they're like basically reboot it as if it's a new organization. So even renamed the national leadership to call it the National High Command, Provincial High Commands, and this is the national officials, and these are positions, these are the systems, this is how we handle things and everything else there. And you know, when a political party goes into parliament, must also get an allocation to establish constituency offices. Then wrote immediately a policy on how you establish constituency offices. And you know what I prevented there, because one of the criminal components in the MK came to a meeting, I think my first meeting, says that, no, we have found a very beautiful office from Umkhonto weSizwe. The rental is 645,000 per month. I said, 600,000 per month, where have you seen that? I said, that is against the law. And then was able to guide the whole system appropriately, and got even the experienced accountants and auditors to look into the finances and everything else. And then they say, because you know how these things work, can be signatory of the bank account. I said, I don't want to be signatory of anything. I don't want to gain access to any bank account. I can guide from outside. Did the document, got leadership to be appointed and everything else there, and conducted political schools in all the provinces and gave clearer coherence as to what is Umkhonto weSizwe. Because when I got to Umkhonto weSizwe, Umkhonto weSizwe meant different things to different people. There was a huge section that believed that it's just the Zulu party to protect the Zulu interests. Including Mr. Hlophe, his first interview after joining, MK, he says, no, I'm here because this is a party which is protecting the Zulu royal family. And there are those who believe that is an extension of MK, the military wing. So I had to listen to everyone and then try to strike a proper balance and then write the founding constitution of Umkhonto weSizwe, because what was there before was a copy and paste constitution of the ANC. And those who had copied and pasted it, they forgot to remove ANC in some of the sections. so I left that, and then wrote a fresh constitution with a system, and then said, this is how we're going to roll now.
So, Floyd,
And,
there's 3 constitutions that you've written now.
So
So
I wrote...
aren't all these parties the same? Because unless you are able to lie and...
I'll tell you something, that there will be... So there's a common thread.
He's the original ChatGPT.
No.
Political AI,
No.
Give me great political policies. That sound like ANC, but don't mention ANC. Good luck.
So I contributed to I wrote the founding manifesto of the EFF and contributed to the constitution of the EFF, the amended version as well. Like Mwiseni was primarily responsible in 2013. And then we then revised it in the other conference. And then there's a common thread that you will see in all the constitutions, which are principles of organizational democracy, which talks about mandates, accountability and reporting, democratic centralism, and respect for the people and all of those things.
Isn't that mentioned in the ANC as well?
So it's originally derived from something called the Marx-Lenin Institute in Russia. So it's a principle that guides almost all revolutionary communist parties.
Yes. Okay, interesting.
So there are common components which you can't avoid if you want to constitute a unitary organization that is run through democratic centralism. And by the way, I don't talk about that. It's not an issue. I'll tell you something. I think the last time I saw Julius speaking was after I left EFF. Then he went to Soweto. He says, comrades, we must reject everything else that the deputy president represented. Like, must remove everything. And then after that, he is quoting like verbatim all the document that I've just written. Everything. There's the document called Organizational Redesign. Says, no, the organization must be like this. I'm like, you just said you must reject everything else that we have contributed.
But you never answered me.
With the document?
You never answered me. So then why would President Jacob Zuma say you know nothing about what you're doing?
So, I saw that clip actually. He was speaking to structures in Limpopo. So he said that there used to be no bala here. And he always does that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like he does that with everyone. Like, so there was a time we're talking something about Chris, and he says, referring to Chris, and then he says, Chris, and he says, yeah, Chris. So he always does that with everyone, right? And then he then said, yeah, he did not know what was doing. And then he then says, no, but there is something about that comrade, and I'm going to look for him and everything else there. I don't know what he says or what I meant when he says that he did not know what he was doing. I won all the by-elections I contested as MK Secretary General. There's never been any winning. All the by-elections after I've left, they are losing by-elections, all of them, back to back. I organized the first anniversary in Moses Mabhida. And I raised money from Umkhonto weSizwe. So the money which I got to be paid as salary from Umkhonto weSizwe is far lesser than what I brought to Umkhonto weSizwe.
I get you.
In terms of the gala dinner that we got to, majority of the people that paid for the gala dinner, I brought them to Umkhonto weSizwe. I gave it some degree of respect and structure and system in terms of how. So and I got to persuade a lot of people whom otherwise I could have not persuaded in Umkhonto weSizwe. That is why in MyBuye now, a substantial number of people who are leaders and members of MyBuye come from Umkhonto weSizwe. because they know of the value that we got to contribute
Oh,
in Umkhonto
yes. I wanted to ask you about Africa Maibuye, but before that, Penduka,
Yes.
you had a question?
Nah, you answered it.
Oh, you
Yeah,
answered
you
it.
answered it. Yes, I was
So
speaking,
now
you
it
answered
seems to me like, correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yes.
So it seems to me like you've always been the guy behind the guy. Like ANC, you did the thing. EFF, you did the thing. MK, you do the thing. But now you are the guy. Is there a change?
So what I think there's a difference actually. And it's not. I'm going back to that word I used earlier, right? The weaknesses of organizations, by the way, is hyper presidentialism, where even when there is common principles, there's a super president who can just proclaim on things that shock everyone as well. In the beginning of the EFF, for instance, we used to discuss everything else, but then later on, there's some arrogance that emerged, and then in a meeting, a person just announces, boom, we're going to do this differently, but we never discussed that, right?
And so is there no difference now? Because you're the guy. You're that guy now.
Myself, I don't work like that. I don't work like that myself. So there is nothing which the leadership that I lead with will be shocked that will come from me. So there will never be any announcement of any policy decision or direction that will come from me as the president without having engaged with the leadership of Africa Maibuye movement. And that is what I tried to curb as well in MK. I called a press conference here in Senten and said that whoever is going to go to Nkandla to consult with President Zuma must know that those decisions are not applicable to the organization. And I'll give you multiple examples, like, because he has got a temptation of taking decisions in his house and wants to make them organizational. So I'll give you an example that we collectively appointed a leadership of MK Women's League. And then there was a group which was calling itself MK Women's League before the ones that were appointed. We collectively appointed, all of us. He even met them, he even congratulated them. Then the first group went to his house to say, no, but why are you not removing us? Then he assures them that, no, you are still there. Then they issue a statement that, no, the President Zuma has affirmed us. Now we have got parallel structures. I wrote a letter, and then I drove to Nkandla there. I said, President, there was a mistake here. There are people here who think that so this letter must be signed by you, not by me, because they will think I'm defying you. He had to sign it there and affirm the leadership structure which we have appointed. Because I don't subscribe to those things of super leaders myself. I think that decisions must be taken by collective all the time and must be informed by the aspirations and interests of the people.
So the decision then of you being the president of Africa Maibuye, how did that come about? Was it as a result of a collective discussion?
Yes, so we implement something which we do very excellently, by the way, in Maibuye now. We call it deliberative democracy. I think in political theory and science, there is a concept of deliberative democracy. So we discuss all leadership responsibilities. And we do constantly review as well. That is this comrade who was assigned for this task still playing the tasks that have been assigned to. That is why we have had changes, by the way, in the leadership, including the founding Secretary General. We discussed and said that SG, you spend a lot of time in KZN, and understandably so. Why don't you go and chair KwaZulu-Natal as a chair, and then we then shift your responsibility to become deputy president because you are a founding SG. And then we get a Secretary General who will be permanently here in Gauteng, because Gauteng is central. You can easily access all other provinces when you are staying in Gauteng full time. And then some of the people, by the way, when we review them, before we announce or we take a decision, they jump and say, I'm resigning from the organization. But we engage in deliberative democracy. So what we then did with Maibuye, we then discussed internally, all of us, the founding leaders, and then said, we're going to propose leadership to the National Convention, a conference, and we open it to questioning as to whether this leadership is appropriate from the consultation process. And then, of course, you will realize that 2 days before conference, we had 3 resignations of first DSG, second DSG, and a deputy president. whom we're not going to recommend as a leadership to the conference. And then the conference deliberated. They actually even made amendments to the names that we had proposed there. And then they said that we bless you as a leadership of Africa Maibuya movement. But by the way, that it's not cast in stone. There is measures. I don't have super presidential powers that I can fire and hire everyone in Maibuya. Like if the collective says that the president is no longer representing our values, they can take any decision any day.
You know what my wish is, man? I wish you guys could just kiss and make up and go back to ANC, man, because it's all the same party. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's in different outfits.
No.
In different colors. Some are the same.
You understand?
Yeah.
Some of the same colors.
Yeah. It's all the same thing, bro.
No, the ANC has fulfilled its historical mission, which was to just attain political independence. And it never had any other program or agenda beyond attainments of political independence. And it's unable to realize other forms of freedoms and emancipation, which we say is total freedom and emancipation, which must be total economic freedom, total cultural freedom, total social freedom, total spatial freedom and emancipation. So that is basically what so the ANC is gone, man.
No, let's close it off here. Now, here's my last question, right?
Yes.
So there's 24 million non-voters, right? How are you going to convince those people that your party is better than or different than all the other parties you left?
So do you know the primary reasons for the existence of Maibuya, by the way, it's not just to participate in electoral politics. It's to form part of the solutions to the multiple socio-economic, developmental, and poverty crises that confront society. I will actually explain to you one day when we get to good time, but it's written here as well.
Got you.
That parallel to us having a political party, there's multiple social responsibility programs. The most prominent one is Maibuya Medics, where we get medical doctors and health professionals to administer primary healthcare, like work which will be done by clinics in areas which do not have clinics. It's the work which we're trying to integrate small-scale farmers into mainstream agricultural beneficiation and productivity. Is to involve ourselves in educational assistance programs to uplift the lives of our people. Because if you exist as a political party with the aim of wanting to uplift the lives of our people, why don't you do it now? So that is our primary purpose of existence. That is why we call ourselves a movement. A political party is just but a component of a movement. Otherwise, our agenda is far much larger than electoral politics in terms of how we handle all of these issues. So whether we win elections or not, the agenda and the program that we exist for will never stop. Every day, we talk about how to uplift the lives of our people. How do we take our people out of poverty? We literally go to farms and get to be taught how to deal with the agricultural production and how to integrate people into society. We pay detailed and clear attention to primary health care in South Africa because those are the areas which we have to look into. In certain instances, instead of organizing a protest action to demand water from the municipality, we go and get some little resources and hire a borehole and dig a borehole to give water to the villages and areas where we do not have water. Beautiful. That is why we exist for. We're not existing not narrowly as an electoral platform. We will, of course, contest a political power, but that is not the primary purpose. The primary objective is to uplift the living conditions, the livelihoods of the black majority Africans in particular and all people of African ancestry in the entire world.
We've heard that so many times, but anyway, in closing, Floyd,
yes.
What do you want to be remembered as?
Yeah.
Look, I think I want to be remembered as a person who, with utmost humility, contributed to the full emancipation and freedom of our people, particularly people of African ancestry. I'll tell you why, because all of us who look like me and you,
yes,
all over the world, wherever we exist, we're subhuman, we're treated as subhumans. And that includes in Brazil, which has got the second highest population of people with African ancestry. That includes in America, which is considered the most developed economy in the world. If you take those 40 million black people and gauge them separately, they are just like any other African country in terms of developmental indicators.
100%.
That includes, even in Cuba, which is socialist, the black component of Cuba is the poorest component of Cuba. So we need to, all of us,
Even in Europe, the diaspora,
everywhere in the European diaspora, we are suppliers of cheap and easily disposable labor. We are not manufacturers of anything. We do not own our destiny. So we need to contribute to an agenda that brings about the total freedom of all people of African ancestry, because generations before us have not done so. And it doesn't look like we're in a path towards achieving that. If anything, we're regressing.
Yeah.
So we need to consolidate an agenda that will bring about the long overdue change. All other, by the way, racial groupings have made progress. Caucasians have oppressed us for many years, for many centuries. Caucasians are the ones who have started world wars, and they are the ones who are at the forefront of colonialism.
Oh, genocides.
Genocides,
man.
everything else there. The Chinese people have caught up. The Koreans have caught up.
100%.
In terms, and they're not fighting everyone. Yes,
Yeah, they're surpassing them
the
now.
Arabs have caught up.
Oh, yeah.
The Indians are catching up.
Yep.
In terms of real progress, these products which we globally consume that are made in India.
Yeah,
There's not a single product that is made in Africa that is globally consumed. Here in South Africa, there's not a single product that is distributed in more than 50 stores that is made by a black person.
Zero.
And we have to change that. And that is the agenda that I truly represent and want to be remembered and be known for.
Beautiful.
That is basically what I stand for.
No, love that.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
Podcast and chill, we out here, man. Boom.
Hey, peace.
Wow. Okay.
Welcome to Black Excellence. Do not fear, for if you do, just sip on some grandeur. And if you still do, ask ourselves, what would Mapapunzi do? Parama chila, itlesha lefiki. Ungoyigi, even if when they ask you, how sabiini, do not fear. For if you do, just say, Anistivi. This is the medicine of censorship. This is the pill. Which one is that one? Podcast and chill.